Good evening, good evening, good evening. I am so excited to be here with some very special ladies in my life. Good evening. Welcome to the hashtag No Side Chicken Fireside Chat. First of all, I want to come in and I want to just say thank you to the three amazing ladies who are on the panel with me for their bravery, their truth, their honesty, and just to share such an intimate part of their lives. This is not easy for us, but it's God's work, so we're going to do it. And without further ado, I'm going to bring in our moderator for tonight, who is, I'm not going to get emotional this early, am I? Who is who made all this happen through God. I found her on my journey of infidelity and destruction in my life when I didn't know who I was. And this person popped into my life and she changed my life. And each and every one of these women here is the fruit of her labor, because I'm the fruit of her labor. And she told me something one day that always stuck with me. She said, always judge. And then she said, nope. And I probably sound just like her. Her mother probably would say, she said, nope. We don't judge stuff. We don't judge people. We don't judge stuff. Always gauge a thing by the fruit that it bears. Yeah. And this woman has gauged a lot of fruit all over the world. And she changed my life, and it gave me the strength and the courage to share my story, which trickled down to these young ladies who are with me tonight, who are going to share their story. And we all heal together because this woman taught me how to heal. So welcome our moderator for the night, Dr. D.C. Marshall. Woo!
Thank you, Trey. Thank you so much for inviting me here, and I'm excited to be here. I know all of the guests here, and so I think this is a very important conversation. So I'm excited, and I'll first start by saying this before we jump right in. I am just grateful that God allowed our paths to cross, and that God allowed me to support and to serve what he was doing in your life. I love what, some would say what you turned into, what you took lemons, or how you took lemons and made lemonade. I love what you did with your story, your personal story, that a lot of women don't have the courage. A lot of people don't have the courage to talk about, the pain points in our lives in terms of relationships. So I first just want to say, I adore you. I want to applaud you and just acknowledge you for really doing this important work. And I'm just so proud that God allowed me to witness it and to be part of your entire brand building, from no side chicking to holding women accountable, to taking men out of the equation, to healing time, and to all of your work, Men Hurt, to all of your babies. So I'm excited to be here. And for all of my loves, I feel like this is really a fireside chat. Like, this is, grab your glass of whatever it is that you're having and come on in, get a comfortable seat, and we're going to have a really good conversation that I believe will help. Definitely is going to help. So without further ado, thank you so much, Stephanie. Thank you, Danica. Thank you, Aisha. Thank you for being here and saying yes to Trey, for being here as well, because you were all in this together. I adore you all and believe just great things are in store, even for you being willing to just share. So let's just start by jumping right in, and I want you all to introduce yourselves, and so we'll go around the room. So just imagine fireside chat, everybody's got their comfortable chair, and so we're going to go around the room. I want you to introduce yourself and why are you here. Let's start with you, Aisha.
Okay. Well, hey, everybody. Thank you, Trey, for asking me to join this evening. I am Aisha Nicole Phillips. I am the owner of Pink Pro Naturals, home of the awesome aphrodisiac mango oil and our sexy lip slushies. Also the founder of The Master's Pearl. And I am here because of how infidelity impacted not just my life, but my family's life. And I am a piece of that fruit off of the D. Marshall root down to the Trey Kearney branches, and I'm a piece of the fruit. And because of that, I'm able now to be able to assist women and helping them discover their inner pearl and to embrace their pearl process and phase. So that's who I am.
Wow. Thank you, gorgeous. Love it. Danica, you want to go next?
Yes, ma'am. Hello, my name is Danica Mason. I am a child of God. I am enough, and that's just who I am. I am a child of God. I am a product of Dee was my coach as well. Trey was my coach. I came here we all met through Infidelity. Infidelity didn't shape us into let me say, bitter Black women. As they say, we came to be better Black women because of it. And because of that, we are able to share our stories with others. So I'm here to share my story with others because it might help someone. Because at one time I was afraid to share my story, but not anymore. Not anymore. So that's just who I am. I'm Danica Mason. I'm a child of God, and I'm enough.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Miss Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Stephanie McNeil, and I am a forgiveness coach. I help women go from heartbreak to happy so that they grow as women. I found Trey on Periscope because I was bitter and I was broken. God had called me to be a minister of reconciliation, and I thought it was like a terrible joke because, how could you call someone to be a minister of reconciliation when you are bitter and resentful and broken yourself? And so I'm here because Trey helped me to heal. She gave me permission to tell my story and speak my truth. She gave me the tools I needed so I wouldn't be ashamed. And I am forever grateful because I was stuck.
Yeah.
And with her courage and let me tell you, it's ironic because, all of my life I've hated side chicks, starting with my father's side chick, and then I have my own story of, dealing with side chicks within my marriage. And so, she helped me to see another side of the side chick and what she goes through. And so I feel like she's a soldier, and I'm forever grateful for her and helping me to be free to love. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Breathe in, breathe out. And so that says, so thank you, Stephanie. Thank you. And so Trey, now I want you, if you two could introduce yourself, because I know we have guests here. I know you have a huge following and people are watching on your platforms, but we're hosting watch parties all over. And there are people who may not know you and know the work that you've done. And so I really want you to share your background in terms of just introducing yourself and why you are here and why we are here. And then I'm going to kick it off with the first question.
I am Trey Kearney, and I got here by way of being a side chick, a married side chick, by way of committing adultery. And it turned my life upside down, and it turned my children's life upside down. It turned my ex-husband's life upside down. And the man who I was with was also married, and it turned his wife's life upside down. Wow. And then the man who I left my husband for cheated on me over and over and over again. And the pain that I endured when he cheated on me, I couldn't bear to think that I had did that to another woman. It didn't hurt me as much that he cheated on me. That hurt too. That was another level of pain. But the real level of pain was to know that I had hurt another woman the way that I was hurting from this man cheating on me. And it took me a long time to forgive myself. And I lived in a prison of guilt. So I began to share my story. And a lot of women, I was like, oh, I have a book out, It's Healing Time, Restoring Hope in Women After Infidelity. They were like, oh yeah, men always cheat. I said, no, I cheated. And it turned my life upside down. And they were like, oh. And then so many other women came along and said they had cheated. And I wanted to share my story from the point of being the side chick and the point of being the cheater and the one who got cheated on. And that's when Stephanie says, I hated side chicks all my life till I met Trey. Because we're here tonight, and I do this platform because I'm not judging anybody. I'm not judging. I used to be you, whether it was a cheated wife or the side chick. I've been in your shoes. Yeah. And these women came into my life and sharing my story. When they came is when you were helping me heal. It was when you came into my life. And Dee didn't come in my life as a relationship coach. She came into my life as a life coach. and the problem was me. And she let me understand that the problem was me and every issue that I had. And I was able to heal with D. And while I was healing with D, these 3 women were healing with me. So I started It's Healing Time, Restoring Hope in Women After Infidelity, and hashtag No Side Chicking, to hold not only the side chick accountable, but the wife accountable. And what I mean by that is that the side chick is accountable for hurting another woman because we have so much power. Mm-hmm. And she has no business sleeping with somebody's husband. And we remove the men from the equation because this is a sister girl chat, and the men can learn from it too. But this is for us. Yeah. We're waiting for men for thousands of years to stop cheating on us. But we have the magic power. We have the key. We have the antidote to the epidemic that's going on. And that's just us saying no to somebody else's husband. And for the wives to mount up, as Stephanie would say, and put your foot down and say, you're accountable, like you taught me, D. You're accountable for why you're staying in that house. You're accountable for why you letting this man come in your house 4 o'clock in the morning in front of your children. So that's why I meshed all of it together. And that's why we're here tonight. Hashtag No Side Chicken Fireside Chat, so that we can talk to each other as women and remove the men from the equation so that we can heal, be whole, and have happy, whole households.
I love it. I love it. So tonight's discussion is about moving to happy. But before we do that, we're going to talk through the stories and the experience so that whoever is listening and watching, we're believing for transformation and shift. So let's start with the first question is what was it like being cheated on? So whoever wants to start first, because that's what we're talking about. And I think it's power. There's power in going in and right there, because that's the messiness that we don't talk about. And so many women and people watching, they believe it's just a dirty stain or there's shame associated when, I love that God used Trey to convert that thing into just a powerful thing, and how you all have all birthed beautiful, I'm going to say, giftings out of it. From Stephanie to Aisha to the Pearl to Danica, everybody has created something. But let's start with what's it like being cheated on?
It felt like being hit by a big truck. And being hit and you're flat and you can't get up, like you're trying to get up. Somebody done hit you, but you can't get up. You're all broken up. You're all messed up. And you're trying to get up, but you can't. Every time you try a little harder, you fall back down. That's what it felt like. It felt like being hit so hard, and you just like it knocked everything out of you and you cannot get up. It's like you feel like you can't recover. But we know that's not true. That's what it feels like.
It feels like you cannot get up. You can't recover. So
it feels like that's what it feels like. That's my experience. Because once you're there, because it was like unfamiliar. And how sometimes you may say, oh, if somebody do this to me, I'm gone. If somebody do this to me. But then when it happens to you, it's different. When it happens to you, everything is different. That's why it's you realize, like, you don't want to judge. Once you have been through that, you're not judging another woman that said they're going to stay or whatever, because you know what it feels like. So not that you can't get up, but that's what it feels like, because we know we can get up, because look at us, we up. Right. But that's what it felt like to, like, you just don't know what to do, where to go, and you just like, you can't get up. The wind been knocked out of you. The person that you trusted, the person that you thought was supposed to be taking care of you.
Aisha, I saw her hands go up, and then I see Trey twitching over there. So, but one thing that you said, Danica, is, and I think it's so powerful, is you always say what you would do on the outside looking in. So let's just put that in the parking lot. But once you're in it, all bets are off, and all talking is canceled. What you had heard yourself say to other people, that I wouldn't do X, Y, and Z, when you were there in the situation, it was a whole nother experience. And so I feel like it forever silenced you from judgment and judging other people who have been in a situation. Got it. Aisha, what do you say? What's it like being cheated on?
It sound a little dramatic or extra, but I felt like it was death. And I've heard women in the past describe that infidelity felt like someone died, but there's a feeling that you get where you literally, it's like Danica expressed it, you feel like you got hit by a truck, but there's a point and there's a period that is drawn out where you literally are struggling to breathe, natural and in the spiritual, and it's like you can't even exhale. You're trying to figure this out, and you're trying to figure out how you're gonna stand. Forget about stand. How do I breathe? It's literally, it felt like a death process.
Wow. Trey or Stephanie, you want to jump in here? What's it like being cheated on?
Well, my story is a little different because I first dealt with infidelity with when I was in middle school as a child. I learned about my dad's infidelity when I was in middle school. Actually, caught him at the side chick's house, and so it was pretty traumatic for me. And so I spent like my childhood because when I caught my dad there, I confronted him later that night at home. He lied to me. And I think the lie damaged me more than anything because I became obsessed with catching him at that point in time. And so, because in my little mind, I was like, if I catch him in the act of doing it, he will be caught and he'll admit it and he'll tell me the truth. And so when it happened in my marriage, I dealt with it for so many years. I dealt with it for about 17 years of my marriage. So to sit here and tell you like what it feels like initially, like one of my ways in my healing journey that I learned that I deal with trauma is that I just push it down, I suppress it. And so the only thing that I can remember is just being frantic. Just having the like anxiety and and again, I was lied to, and because I never saw it head on, there were just like clues. And so I just continued the pattern of obsessively trying to catch in the action.
It's a shameful thing. And it's weird, and they can testify to it if it's making sense to them too. I felt shame for another person cheating on me. I felt like I had did something wrong to even know that the person was doing it. I felt deep down shame and despair, which led to depression, because there's a sense of confusion of, first of all, what do I do in this moment? And second of all, how do I even explain this? Even from a person who had cheated on somebody. How do I explain to everybody around me that my house is in the shambles? Or how do I keep a face? So I got to decide here in this moment of shame for so many reasons for all of us. For me, because I had cheated and I had went with this man, so I had to prove that this is going to work. But the insides of you, I could just remember being on the bathroom floor crying, coming out of the shower with my towel on me, just crying and saying, God, I don't even know what this is. I'm just lost, and I'm just dumb, and I'm just confused, and I'm just ashamed of myself or however I got here. And just, I'm not going to say I was suicidal, but in that moment, if I could have been dead for those months and came back, but if I could have just been dead for those months.
You didn't want to be here. It wasn't that you wanted to kill yourself. You just didn't want to be here for the moment. I get that. It's interesting, Trey and Stephanie, both when I hear you talk about what it was like being cheated on, your situations were connected to other situations that compounded. Because Stephanie, for you to have your first infidelity as a child, that is just such a I don't even know how to describe what that is, to have that experience as a young girl, to be cheated on, and to have the experience of confronting a man and how that might set your mind up as a young child, so unfortunate about that, but I love that God used you, because in fact, the more so when I think about all of you all's work. It's just, I feel like you all have been set up. And some people will understand that, but part of it is that in order to do the work that God called you to do that you're doing right now, God had to process you to qualify you. So for Stephanie, some people wouldn't understand the levels of, now how old were you, Stephanie?
Middle school, so I was probably 7th grade. So how old was that? 12, 11, 12?
13 years old, 12, 13.
Nobody would understand how or why a 13-year-old girl, a baby, had to have her first encounter of infidelity as a 13-year-old. So, but because I know you all are believers, this the processing that qualified you. Nobody else is qualified or has the struggle and the story and is qualified as you, Stephanie, as you, Aisha, Danica, and Trey. And then Trey, and see, it's interesting because Danica, you and Aisha's description of how you felt was more personal. Right, your personal feeling and personal processing, and whereas Trey, you talk about the external thoughts of shame and how I'm going to manage the external, where Danica and Aisha are down for the count. And you're processing in a different way. And then Stephanie, same thing. And I'm sure we can talk about it, and we are a little bit later about, what it does to your mental psyche to know that you're being lied on and cheated on, but not be able to prove it. And then so the mental psyche. So it's just interesting, the four of you. So here's a question. Trey, did you blame? Well, I know, you've written a book about it. So in terms of the blame, were you blaming yourself or what? Well, I heard you say shame, but I'm not sure if you were talking about blame, but I just want to know, did you all blame yourself? Where does blame come in?
I blame myself to the degree of anytime something went wrong in my life, until I got myself together and I got coached by you and I did the work and I got closer to God. Everything that happened to me was karma. Like anything bad that happened to me, I felt like I deserved it.
Wow.
It's just karma. You slept with somebody's husband, you left home, you drugged the boys around, you did dirt. So now this is karma. And it took me a long time to get past. You have prayed, you have repented, you have been forgiven, and you have forgiven yourself. So now I can live in a space where anytime something bad, if anything happens to me, it's not karma. It's like, this is just life and life happens. But when you're in a place of shame and guilt and blaming yourself, but just making bad choices when you're in a bad space, a lot of times you live in the karma zone instead of the Christ zone.
Yeah. One time I heard you say something like that, or the opposite of what some people would say karma. And it was such a powerful statement. You said, no, I don't believe God is a petty God that he would do that. And it was so powerful. And it just showed the kind of woman that you are, which I so respect you for that. And I thought it was so powerful because it showed that you had done your work, and that you didn't buy into what the world says. But blame. So Aisha, Danica, you want to jump in? Was there any blame? Did you blame you? Did you blame him? Did you blame the other woman? Where was the blame?
I think. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think it was a multitude of it. Like it was. I was so all over the place till one day I was blaming him, one day I was blaming me, I was blaming the side chick, maybe I was blaming the wall. It didn't matter, whoever it was, because the emotions was so, out of control and out of whack until, you started coaching with Trey, coaching and therapy and prayer until you realize, okay, first of all, let's get yourself together and know that, you are not the cause of, you did not do this. You know what I'm saying? Okay, of course, you have to accept responsibility with what you brought to the table, because there's something everybody has something that they bring, but you did not cause anyone to go and cheat. You didn't cause anyone to go and do this. So I had to realize that. But initially, it was all over the place.
Aisha, do you want to share?
Yeah, I don't think initially I did a lot of blaming because I was so devastated. Like how Trey and Stephanie, all of them, they have like an extended period. I was with my husband since I was 17 years old, so I didn't really have a bunch of relationship experience. So I didn't have any cheating experience. So here I was at 40 years old with my first old snap being cheated on. So I think depression kind of took over, and that's really what I just felt. I was just so devastated. I didn't even know who to blame. I just didn't know what was going on. I was literally, like I said, trying to just breathe. I didn't have the energy. They could all tell you. I didn't even have the energy. It was just nothing but tears and struggling. So and whys, like whys, not it's your fault. It was just, why would you do this to me?
Yeah. So Stephanie,
and for me, because by the time I met Trey, it had been going on for so long. I had separated from him after 20 years. And so Trey introduced me to the word accountability and removing men from the equation. So I had to look at myself because in society, if a woman is cheated on, everybody, it's okay to bash the man. You know what I mean? It's okay to blame him. But Trey allowed, and what she teaches in her platform, allowed me to look at myself. And when I looked at myself, I discovered that I was mad at him because I stayed.
Wow.
And I'm like, when I tell you, I was mad. So I was mad at myself, and I didn't even realize I was mad at myself. And so for me, it was me forgiving myself for allowing myself to be in that situation. But then I have to go back and say, because I am a woman of God. Like I would not have the relationship with God had I not had this infidelity in my life. That's what drove me to my knees. That's what brought me the closeness that I have. Like I would not have survived. Matter of fact, there were 2 different occasions that I literally could have had a nervous breakdown, but for the power of God. Wow. And so for me, I just had to let go of the anger, realizing that, and I realized that I was angry at me.
Wow. So Stephanie, you were married 20 plus years. Aisha, you 17. Danica,
I was married with 20 something. I was with him from 17 years old.
Oh, for 20 something, but since 17, got it. Danica, how long were you married?
20 years.
Wow, all of you 20 years. And Trey, how about you?
I got married when I was 21, and I left home when I was 30, and I didn't get divorced until. Now we spitting bones. I didn't get divorced until Jermaine was born. I was still married.
Okay. Well, it's your platform and your choice to share what you.
I was still married to my ex-husband for the whole course of the relationship with the man I was cheating on. We got divorced like 9 years ago when Jermaine was about 1.5. His son, the other man's son. So I was married most of the time. We were together 20 years. So
got it. That's a messy story, but look at how God used you.
Yes, it really was, because I really was in a space, and a lot of women who are listening right now, a lot of us don't want to hurt people, so we hurt ourselves, if that makes sense. Because I didn't want to hurt my ex-husband, and I didn't want to hurt the man I was cheating with, so I juggled. I was, like I always tell people, I had a husband and a boyfriend that I was juggling because I didn't want to really be with the man I cheated with, but I had already did so much damage that I didn't want to cause my ex-husband any more damage. So I was like, you don't want to hurt him. You don't want to hurt him. So just drag this thing on until it is what it is. And then it became what it became. And I finally made a decision after I got coaching and counseling and prayer. And I found out the problem was me. I never saw a healthy relationship. I never knew what I wanted. I was with my husband from 18 years old. I traveled with him. He was in a band, and I never really knew who I was. I had an identity. So anytime something made me feel good, I latched onto it.
And Trey, you bring up a good, I love that you tracked, you could really tell that you did your work. Because when you say, I never saw a healthy relationship, it makes sense that you wouldn't have known. You didn't really have a benchmark or a standard. And so I think that brings me back to you, Stephanie, when you say, you were 7th, 8th grade. So what was it like? Well, we already know what your father was doing, but can you talk a little bit more? Apparently this must be comfortable for you to talk about.
I'm an open book.
Yeah. So can you talk
free.
about
I'm free.
Yeah. But talk about, I guess, the connection between, what was happening in the house, as a child growing up, and then did you see the progression of you following, a pattern or that pathology continuing down, to adulthood, to where you would do or participate and be attracted to the same kind of man that your father was. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I think it even goes back to the point that I was molested as a child. Mm-hmm. As a young girl, like at the age of 5, I knew what sex was. So I don't even know what age I was when it first happened, right? My parents had a business, and so there were men around all the time in and out of our household. So I think that's why I even caught an awareness that there was something going on between this side chick and my dad, because I was being bullied, at school. So I would walk home from school, and this big old girl used to chase me home. And here I am, this little bitty petite thing with a big mouth, being chased home. So when this woman said, that who worked at my school offered a ride home for me, I was like, yes. And so at the time, my mother, she worked out of town all week. And so it was just my dad and myself at home. And so even though, I grew up an only child, so I didn't have siblings or anybody else to insulate me, you know what I'm saying? And so that's the way that I grew up. So I think the reason why I could even detect that there was something going on is because I had an awareness of what sexual tension, or, you know what I mean? I just knew what it was.
Yep.
So when I grew up, it was just, I think it's familiar spirit. That's the only thing I can say, because my ex physically looks nothing like my dad, but it's the same spirit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even my mother noticed it, like mannerisms, the way that he would, interact, the phrases, like even my mother caught that. Wow. That was the same types of reactions. So I grew up and I married my dad.
Wow. Ooh. All right, everybody, deep breath in and out.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for, again, I can't say enough about how much I respect you all for the courage to share your story, and then for the courage to do your work, for the courage to then allow God to use you and your gift to begin again. I'm so grateful that, that you would choose to, and I'm going to use your metaphor, Danica, to get up from underneath the truck that had rolled over you and know that you need to live and you have to move on. But I want to go to Aisha and, and talk a little bit about your situation. So you were left with nothing. How does that happen? Were there red flags? Or did it just happen? Was there any sort of, anything that led up to this that you knew that your marriage was on the brink? Can you just talk a little bit about that? Because you've got 5 girls, right? But you were left with nothing. So we want to just hear a little bit from you.
In hindsight, there were red flags, but like I said, I started dating my husband. I was 17. I was in high school. That was like my first real boyfriend. So I didn't have all of that relationship experience, and we never broke up. So it was just from 17 to all the way through adult. In my life, it was, okay, well, this is normal. I was the first one out of all of my girlfriends to get married for years, because I got married at 21, so it was still fairly young. And I didn't, and when things didn't feel right, I wouldn't dare go to my parents. And I was a daddy's girl. So I felt, if I felt something that was off, I would be afraid to go tell my father, just because, like, your marriage is just supposed to work. It's supposed to be perfect. And those are the things I dealt with. And like Trey touched on earlier, like with the shame, we throughout the years had that marriage where everybody looked up to us. So when things weren't going right, I couldn't dare say anything, because I understood the sphere of influence that we did have. Because from the outside looking in, we had the perfect life. We really did. So it was like, and some of the things I didn't recognize as red flags while I was in it, just because I didn't have that experience. It was just like, okay, I don't know if this is normal or not, and I don't have the courage to ask anyone, and then I trusted, I didn't have the experience of separated parents. My parents were together my whole life, my grandparents, so I had that life where everything just stick to the script. We're not going to divert. Everything has to be fully intact, especially when you're outside. So when things weren't right, it was like, okay, breathe, because we're getting ready to go outside. I don't care what it feels like inside. When you go outside, you can't look like it. So I didn't really know that they were the red flags until the rug was snatched from up under me, and I try to go to BJ's, and my cards are declining, which never happened, but direct deposits have been cut off for like 5 or 6 months prior. So I didn't realize that the steps for the exit had already begun, but I didn't know. I really didn't know until after. Now I can be like, oh, I could write a book on the red flags. But
as you should. Right? But
experience or the wisdom to recognize it in that moment, that I need to pay attention.
But you know what, Aisha? I think for all the women watching, nobody has it. Or for the most part, many people wouldn't have the insight when it's happening in real time. But really, life is a class, and our experiences are our best teachers. And so we don't know. And so I think so many people, I mean, look, we've all been there. So many people would say the same thing. But I will also say, you said so many powerful things, and I think so many people could relate to it. It's when you are the only ones who are married, right? Or you're the first. You're holding it together for the tribe or for the family or for the sake of. So you're really in it. You're keeping up appearances is important because it's keeping up for the culture, or the culture that is the family. And so I heard that, and I think for whoever is tuned in right now, it's just it's not healthy. Right, to live for other people. It's not healthy to keep up appearances. And so that's just so powerful that you felt like the role model, and you had to really stay in that position so others would look up to, would have a place to look up to. So I'll say this as a sidebar. So I've had a married friend who was divorcing, and she was going to make an announcement. She was going to make an announcement, and it was a similar sort of situation about, all of the people. She was really concerned and carrying the fact that other people would be hurt, and other people would be disappointed, and other people would be devastated. And what I shared with her is, you can't share the story and tell the people while you're still in it. You have to be able to come out of it and tell your story from on top of the mountain. And so that you're not worried about other people. And so, but I'll stop right there. Let's go back to, so you learned the lesson, or at least you now know the signs. You were keeping up for the family, for the sake of the family. And you were also encouraged because your parents had a sweet, yummy relationship, or at least they were married, right? Yeah. They were married because they would say, no, babe, we just know how to make this work. So yeah. But But then, okay, so, but he left you with nothing. So talk a little bit more about, like, you have 5 daughters and you go to the store and your cards aren't working. What's happening then? How are you feeling? What do you do next? How does this all come to head?
It was rough. Like it was rough. That's the part that I really still tear up about, because it was like I never had to. It was like a season of struggle, and everybody on the panel with us knows, like, it was like a rock bottom that I would have never expected. Like, what do you mean? Like, how I can't feed my children? Like, how do you go from a household that has a $2,000+ income to now I'm sitting with my child in a social service office trying to apply for food stamps so I could feed them? Like, it was all surreal. And it was just like, what do you do? Because I still didn't call anybody and ask anybody for help, because I was still like, it was almost a year before a lot of people that were very close to me knew what was going on. And that's because people were like, if you don't answer this phone, I'm going to come to your house. And it was just, I was in such a sunken, dark place because, number one, to back up a little bit, I still believe in the covenant of marriage. Like, even now, I think one of the purposes that God gave me through this is to help women understand, just because I was bruised, I'm not going to allow it to elevate to brokenness and then to graduate to bitterness. And that's something that I like to say all the time. I'm not going to allow this to make me bitter. So I didn't want people to see that our marriage was failing, because I didn't want them to lose hope in their marriages or in their desires to become married, because I still, even today, believe in the covenant of marriage and the beauty of marriage the way God designed it. So I didn't want people to know. And it's still a lot of things I'm like, gosh, because I don't want, even with all girls. Now my girls are young adults and they're like, I'm never getting married, and I can't believe that you did that. And that hurts. You know, like I have an almost 24-year-old. She was like, you're crazy. I would be dating all the men that come my way. I would never get married. And it hurts because I don't want them to feel that way. I don't want them to look at our situation and think that that's the standard. You know, there are great marriages out there.
Yeah.
So I just didn't want to be that picture for people like, well, if they didn't work, then I know there's no hope for me.
Yeah. Danica, you have, now you're speaking of the children, right? Aisha with the 5 girls, Danica, you with boys, sons. How did you explain it to your sons? What was that conversation like?
I don't think I had to have the conversation initially, because when things started to blow up, they kind of knew, you know, because their dad was kind of leaving and going. And my oldest son was like, well, somebody at school told me they saw my dad such and such or such. So it was like they kind of, the oldest one kind of knew, you know, some stuff was going on, but then they knew he was kind of in and out. So they started kind of getting it. And, you know, you try to keep it from them, but they kind of, they knew. And that being boys, you know, they trying to protect their mom, you know, and, you know, to this day, it's still a work through for them to work through all of the issues that it caused, the anger and the stuff like that, because, you know, they have a relationship with their dad, but sometimes it gets shaky, because sometimes it goes back to, well, you weren't here, you did this. So it kind of, I don't think it was actually me sitting down having a conversation initially. You know, I've had conversations, you know, about forgiveness or whatever, and, you know, but the thing I think helped them to even have a relationship now is because through it all, I would always say, you know what, you know, he done did this, but he's still your dad. Go, you know, just talk to him. He's still your dad. Go do this. So, but I never really initially had the conversation. Later I did, but it kind of just started unfolding, and it was so much. And, you know, then you get into it, you try to protect your kids, you know, from it. But then, you know, when they got a side chick and they got this and that, before you know it, I don't know about, but you know, I became the cussing Christian. I'm the Christian, but I'm cussing you out. And I done forgot the kids there. I done threw a bottle, or I'm just being honest, I done threw the telephone, I done got the knife, and the kids right there, you know, and you don't even realize it. So they done kind of just fell up, you know, they done kind of just got caught up in it, you know. They trying to hold you because you're trying to kill their daddy, and not realizing until you realize, like, okay, this is enough. This is really enough.
Yeah.
It gets to be too much.
Yeah.
So it wasn't initially a conversation.
Right.
It wasn't initially a conversation.
Yeah. And you know what? And for the most part, you know, you hear these conversations all the time about adults and married, you know, couples doing things for the kids like the kids don't know. And
Like
the
they
kids
don't know.
know. The kids know your energy. And so when you do things and you know, I'm certainly not going to speak to either side. It's you all's relationship. But when people say they stay for the children, or they do this for the children, or they do that for the children, it's the children know. And the best lesson I believe you teach your children is life happens, things happen. And the best thing that you could do is to teach your kids how to manage through real stuff and to be real about real stuff. Because otherwise, when they're sheltered and coddled, then they don't have an opportunity to learn through. Because just how you all had powerful lessons that grew you up. I mean, look at this. You're a better woman. You couldn't tell me that you're not a better woman as a result of going through the process. Absolutely. It just doesn't happen. Right. It's like our life experiences, they grow us up and we learn. And so the children's situation, it just, you know, it's just an opportunity. In fact, part of what I would imagine, Danica, is that, you know, you want your sons to have an experience and to be real because you want them to work through that so that they don't repeat the process or carry that over and become the same way. And so anyway, but you know what? I'm gonna move over and shift because we have a lot of different conversation to have tonight. I'm going to move over to Stephanie and let's talk a little bit about accountability and where you took accountability for, you know, your part in the marriage or the breakdown. And so can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, you know, the accountability wasn't, like I said, it was an idea that, you know, is not really popular because it's okay for the woman to be mad. It's okay for the woman to be, you know, society says it's okay. If a woman is cheated on, you can act whatever kind of way you want to act. You can stay bitter for the rest of your life and everybody will say, well, she has a right to. But the thing that was pushing me, that propelled me forward was my purpose. And it was the fact that God had called me. And that was the thing that kept me alive. That was the thing that kept me growing. That was the thing that kept me pressing, you know, because God had given me this message. And I'm like, I got to get better in order to do what God has called me to do. And so I really struggled for a long time. I struggled for a long time forgiving because, you know, I have a heritage of bitter women in my family. My mother was bitter and her mother was bitter. And my other side of the family has bitterness. I mean, it's like, it was just like a cruel joke. Like, God, really? You put me in this situation? Like, all I know is, you know, bitterness, resentfulness. People get mad at each other. People being mad at each other for so long, they don't even know why they were mad at each other in the first place. And so it was really my purpose that propelled me to go forward, because I just got tired of being the protagonist and the antagonist in my own story. That's what kept me stuck, because here I am, and I felt like, you know, I felt like I didn't want to do it. First of all, I didn't want to do what God had called me to do because I knew who I was. And my children knew who I was. And so even though it wasn't like I was ever being fake or phony, because if anybody knows me, like, I cannot fake. You know what I'm saying? If I'm mad at you, you're going to know I'm mad at you. But I just had this push and pull going. You know, I had, you know, on one hand, I was the antagonist. On the other hand, I was a protagonist. And it just, the fact that nothing was working. And it wasn't until the divorce was final and my spiritual mother passed away and then my mother passed away that I finally forgave him. And so I had all this time, you know, calling myself a forgiveness coach, feeling like not qualified, didn't want to do it because I knew what was going on in my heart. But I wanted to be true, and I knew that God had called me to do it. And so after really forgiving, and all of that stuff happening, and then having a group of women to work with that really confirmed to me, yes, this is what God calls you to do. And the fact that I showed them my scars, which is what Trey did. Yeah. Trey showed us her scars. Yeah. She was transparent. Like truth plus transparency equals healing. Yeah. And so she was true. Mm-hmm. And so that gave me the courage to be who I was, because I never tried to fake. I never tried to hide who I was. But what I wanted to do was to be true at home. Mm. Yeah. And I wasn't true at home, not because I didn't want to be, because I hadn't forgiven and I didn't know how.
Wow. Mm. Wow. You just healed somebody here. I mean, all of you. I mean, this is just a sweet conversation, fireside chat, but there's so much healing, and there's so many lessons and breakthroughs. Stephanie, just the fact that there's some woman who watching right now, praying over here for this, that, and the third, and believing God for greater and more, and wanting more of her, I don't know, her career, her purpose, her identity. But over here is holding on to the bitterness, is holding on to the anger, and just holding on to stuff. And what you just shared and what you are modeling for us is do your own work over here, and it's the breakthrough to over here. And so I promise you, that's a breakthrough moment for somebody watching right now, because in order to become who it is, how you see yourself and how God sees yourself, in order for you to become who God called you to be, created you to be, in order for you to step into whatever the life that God has for you, all of this stuff, as much as it hurts, it might not have been your fault, but it's your responsibility to resolve and to do the work, and so I think it's just so powerful, and you're teaching in such a powerful way, just in our Friday night fireside chat of, I wanted this thing and I had to forgive, because some people just don't understand forgiveness is not for the other person. They just don't understand. And some women, we cannot move off of the the bad attitude. We can't move off of the other woman. Notice, what I love about this fireside chat, Trey? We are almost an hour into this. We hadn't even talked about the other woman until right now. We have 54 minutes into a fireside chat, and this is a grown folks fireside Friday night chat. And that's what I really respect about you all. 54 minutes. How many other conversations would you be in, or could you have, and talk about infidelity? And before somebody is saying, girl, he cheated on you, or girl, and who did what and where? And so, but yes. So, all right. So let's move on. Trey and Aisha, how did you two connect? Because I remember the two of you first, and I don't know how the rest of you. But can you talk about how you? Oh, that must be a juicy story.
I'm gonna start. I'm gonna give this series because the Trey gonna make y'all laugh. So it was the day after I got served with my divorce papers. Devastated, unaware, didn't even know they was coming. We had never had a conversation, and it was like, okay, I was sitting here like we didn't even have a conversation about this to even think that you're gonna slap me with divorce papers. So again, I'm trying to breathe. And months prior, I had downloaded Periscope in my phone. Never used this app at all. So I know how God just does things, those suddenly moments. And I was sitting on the edge of the bed, and I picked up my phone to look for the time. But you know how we have iPhones, you touch the app, it just opens. And I heard this woman. Now, my purpose of sitting on the bed was with my MAC Fuchsia Flame lipstick. I always tell this story. I was putting together my letter, because not only was I preparing to take my own life, I was preparing to take the lives of my children. Like, I had it mapped out. which one I had to take out first, the biggest one, because if they wake up, they're going to hear me and she's going to try to kill me. Like, I literally had a whole plan, and I was going to write everything on the wall with my fuchsia flame lipstick. So I was thinking about how, what time I was going to do it, and I picked up the phone to look at the time so I could know how my plan was going to go out. And I heard this voice, has your life been changed by the impact of infidelity or something like that? And I was like, who in her voice? I was like, what is she talking about? So I pick up the phone and I'm crying and I'm just looking, and I'm like seeing all of these hearts and everybody's just talking. I'm like, all of these people got divorces. Like, I just didn't know what it was. But I knew in that moment now, especially, it was God literally leading me there. And everybody, I was like, okay. I was like, who are these people? Because they, to me, Trey's going to tell you, they were nuts. Like, it was like cultish almost. And they were like, oh my, I was like, okay, so I just got served divorce papers. What do I do? Because I really didn't know. They was like, take the number, call her right now. She's going to come help me. I was like, well, I'm in New Jersey. Who's going to help me? And I promise you, everybody in the Periscope was like, call Trey. And it was like Trey was the second coming and the resurrection all wrapped up in one.
I love it. Yes.
Wait, who is this Trey Kearney? And I didn't even know that it was her talking. And I remember like Naja, everybody was just giving and I put my phone number. They was like, don't put your number. She's going to call. Put your number. Then delete it. She's going to call you as soon as the scope finished. I can't even tell you what they were talking about aside for everybody was going through a divorce. I thought it was like a cult for women that wanted to lynch their husbands and whatever. So like 5 minutes later, I get this unavailable number and I'm sitting there like, I think this is this lady, but I think they're crazy, So, and I didn't want to get talked out of my plan. So she called twice. She left a voice message and I heard it. And as I'm listening to the message, hi, Aisha, this is Trey Kearney from Periscope. I'm like, these people are nuts. So I answered the second time. And she's like, hi, Aisha, this is Trey. She's so sweet. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm like literally devastated. And I got these papers. And she was like, where are you? And we found out we lived like 15 minutes from each other. And we met like maybe the next day.
Yep.
Hey, go ahead. Because this is when Trey makes it. This is just.
So I said, this is when I was going out and I was actually going to meet women. And my family thought I was crazy. They were like, you can't be going to meet these strange women. Somebody's going to kill you. I was like, no, these are women who are going through infidelity. They need help. I got to go. So I said, let's meet at Panera. Bread. So I went, and when I get there, I'm like, she's like, hi. I was like, Aisha? She's like, yeah. She's like, she's sitting at the table looking real crazy. And I'm like, why is she looking all crazy like this? She goes, is this a cult?
You think she crazy, she think you crazy, but y'all birth there. But you're there.
I said, no, this is not a cult. I just help women heal from the devastation of infidelity. I have a book, it's Healing Time, Restoring Hope in Women After Infidelity. I'm just here to help you. She's like, are you sure? Is anybody gonna hurt me? Or I'm like, wait a minute. And we've been inseparable ever since.
I
never knew that story, Trey. Aisha, I've never known that story.
I really thought that the whole no side chicken movement was a cult. She had like this cult type following. Like, come on, y'all. Like, people really needed Trey. So it was like, nah, something ain't right. This lady coming to meet me at the Panera. I'm going through. I don't got no money. Like, I was struggling in tears. She would tell you I was crying. Okay, I was like, I'm sure it's not a cult, because I knew that I was not in a good place, but I also knew that I needed help, and I also knew that I didn't want to go to my foundation, which was the church, because I was again embarrassed. So I had to seek outside help, whoever God allowed to come. So I'm like, nah, God, please, whatever this lady is about to tell me, please don't let her hypnotize me. I don't want to be a part of a cult. I still believe in God. Like, I'm dead serious. I thought it was crazy.
I love this story. I love it. God used you, Trey. Listen, I never knew that story. That's powerful.
That's the joke. Like, we always be like, is this a cult?
I started out on Periscope. I used to just go on there and just talk. Like, in the morning, I used to just get up in the morning and just talk. Because I needed to talk. And this is what I say to these three. I needed all of these women and all of these people who were coming on more than they needed me.
Wow.
I needed them because they were just letting me talk. And I was just like,
debatable.
Yeah,
That's debatable.
They just actually just let me talk about hashtag no side chicken. And every day I just came on and I talked about infidelity. Like, my family went through this and I just want my family to heal and I don't want anybody else to go through this. And they don't even know that as I was pouring, I was being filled because there were so many holes in me.
Wow.
And it's just amazing that we've been inseparable for a long time now.
I love that story. You say that was nobody but God. Aisha, I just say, I'm so glad. I mean, this is a really, just for a serious moment, I'm just so glad that God saved you and that Trey was a part of that. But that is just to hear the story from this side. I think there's been instances where we don't hear the story from this side, that you're living and that you're well. We've heard stories of that scenario, but they're not here. In fact, one in Philadelphia, I think in the last 3 to 5 years, I've heard of a story of a family in Philadelphia, and it was similar. It was comparable, but that's just so. God, let me tell you something. God is awesome.
Yes,
that's it.
Yes,
that's all I'm gonna say. Yeah. Just the way He orchestrates people, places, and things. Just as much as, listen, I'm not the preacher, but just like He orchestrated, He had to orchestrate, Jesus walking towards the cross and that whole thing. I'm gonna try to hold back because it's well, why would you? How would He? The whole crucifixion and how that how God had to orchestrate. Anyway, Aisha, just for God to have orchestrated a lot of things in your life for you and Trey and Periscope to connect at the moment where, like, to hear you talk through a plan, if anybody else heard you talk through a specific plan, I'm sure you'd be, they'd have to come and get you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I was looking at the phone so I could get the time, because literally I was going to be very strategic and implement. I touched my phone. That that's God, because I had downloaded Periscope months ago and I had never used it. So I didn't even know like what the hearts were and all of that stuff. I just heard her.
Love. That was love. That was love. Yes. Ooh, well, my goodness. All right. So Trey, let's get to the side chick. Because on the platform, you remove the women from the equation, right? No, you remove the men. You take the men out of the equation to hold women accountable for their part in infidelity. And I love that has been your positioning. I've heard you say that. I mean, for years, I've heard you talk about taking the men out of the equation and holding women accountable, the other women. And so can you just talk a little bit about that?
Because we've been fighting with each other as women. We get on platforms and we talk about we are boss, we starting businesses, we the most educated, we making the most money, we the head of the household, but we sleeping with somebody man. Like, we got all this other stuff in control. And we want to say, when a woman finds out that, and most women, and I forgot the percentage because I don't have the papers in front of me, but a large percentage of women know that the man has a significant other and still pursues him. Or when they find out, they still stay with him. We have to understand first this. Our men, and I'm speaking of Black men right now, our men are broken and bruised and they need healing. And this is not to excuse them. And they're broken and bruised and need healing because the way they were brought up from their mothers. And this is not to blame anybody, but this is an accountability lesson, because blame causes guilt, accountability causes growth. So we have this power as women to say no to somebody else's husband. And I'm not blaming women. I'm saying this to my sisters out here.
Yep.
The trickle down, the residue that you leave behind when you're sleeping with somebody's husband, between children, their father's missing the daughter's first dance recital, the father not being there for the baseball game, the father being somewhere with you. you're causing a devastating effect on a child, on a family. And I always tell women this, and this sometimes resonates with the side chick. Cheating is a form of abuse. And if you are knowingly sleeping with somebody's husband, boyfriend, or fiance, you're an abuser. And if there are children involved, you're a child abuser. Because just because that woman doesn't know your name or your face, she's mentally being abused by her husband. And I say this to women too. And this one woman was in tears one day. She called me not a year or so back. And she was saying, it's not my fault. And he the one took the vow and all this other stuff. And I said, this woman is being emotionally abused, right? I said, the man's not putting his hands on her. I said, but would you condone this man if he was beating his wife? And she got really emotional, like, no, I would never condone a man hitting a woman. I said, but you're condoning his mental abuse and you're a part of it. But we as women, we have to understand that we have the power by simply honor guarding and respecting each other's relationships. No, D, I don't owe you nothing. Yeah. No, Aisha, I don't owe you nothing. No, the woman down walking at my next door neighbor, I don't owe you nothing. But it's not about me owing you something as another woman. It's about me taking accountability as who I am as a Proverbs 31 woman with integrity, that I know better than to sleep with somebody else's husband or somebody else's boyfriend or to be disgusting, nasty, and dirty. And I asked the side chick, if you're listening right now, a couple of questions. Why would you put yourself second, right? And we got some side chicks making 6 digits. I don't care how many letters is behind your name. Integrity is everything. You're nothing with those letters behind your name if you are disobedient to God. Yeah. If you are hurting yourself and another woman. So we're here tonight just to appeal to women to love on each other enough from the back. Nobody should have to ask me not to sleep with the man's wife, the lady's husband that I slept with. Yeah. And I learned my lesson from that. And people say, never say never. No, I would never, ever hurt another sister like that, because I have the ability and the power that if I know this man has a wife, girlfriend, or fiance, to say no. And that's just who I am, integrity-wise. Because me sleeping with that lady's husband said nothing about him and everything about me and my integrity and my character and who I am as a person and a woman.
So powerful.
Yes.
Trey, you have no idea how much, well, you do. I just, God purposed you for this work. You have just no idea. And so I'm looking at a couple comments, and, women are really applauding you all for the courage to have the conversation. And so you're healing and you're educating right now. You're informing, because so here's the thing. And what I love again about you, Trey, and Stephanie even mentioned it, it takes somebody to go first and to have the courage to show up in such a way that we could see something different and then raise the levels, right? Raise the standard, raise the benchmark. And so, right, all it takes is a seed and somebody to plant in your mind, because it shifts our thinking, right? There's a paradigm shift in that when somebody just says, well, no, this isn't about him.
Right.
And so, yeah, no, let's talk about, so all it takes is a conversation.
When
because
you came into my life, D,
say that again.
When you came into my life, I wasn't about that life. It wasn't about my mistakes and my errors. When you came into my life, it was about what I wanted. And when you came and I was saying to you, I was complaining to you about where I was and what I had, you said, that ain't about nobody but you. Like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, why are you asking me why am I doing that when this person is doing this to me? And you made me accountable to say, a person can only do to you what you allow. So fall back, and I'm going to ask you, either you want me to coach you and ask you some real questions, or you want to make excuses. And you said, or you want to give me reasons. And a reason is a excuse wrapped up in a bow.
I said it's dressed up. Those are you think they're reasons. That's an excuse. That's dressed up.
Right.
For those of you who don't know, but you have to know, this is Trey Kearney's platform. Beautiful genius of a woman who does this work and is committed, and God used her. Infidelity on the left and on the right. God purposed her. But she has a coach, and she will let you know who her coach was. And it happened to have been me. And She took every punch and every stretch and every bar. Oh, she bought it. And once she got over, oh, she just want my money. She got over it. And every piece of whatever God was serving up through D. Marshall to move her from average, status quo, mediocre, she said, I'm here for it. She came kicking and screaming, but baby, she received it. And so I remember, I know what you're talking about, right? If you had a conversation with me, yeah, I would be like, yeah, that's not what if that's what you like to tell yourself, then you can go ahead and do that for you. But I'm clear, this is about you. This don't have nothing to do. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about you.
Oh, right.
And so I love that you took that. And but I do want to share this, Trey, and maybe the series continues, or I don't know, this fireside chat. But Ingrid Woofuk, I see you, Ingrid. And she said this conversation takes so much courage after the work. She recently wrote a book, and she'd be an awesome woman to have as part of this. She tells a beautiful story, divorced, and then, or life after divorce, or something like that. But I think that's for another topic, or for another group. But I'll say this. So I'm going to come back around to, I think, let's see, Danica, you talked a little bit about how this affected, affected your children, your sons, right?
Yeah, definitely. It was a lot of anger, and then sometimes it'd be misplaced anger, because you'd be angry at they were so angry at so many things. And then you realize, well, this is a result of the divorce. It is a result of the infidelity and saying that we want to take the men out of the equation. And I want to just say to, like, the side chick, I don't know that they really understand what they're doing to the children, and I also know, the side chick is a human being just like us. They broken just like we have, broken pieces at some point or whatever. And they might not understand, the pain that they're causing, because at the end of the day, I'll say it like this, we, after we done the work and we heal, we okay. Look at us now, like we okay. We moving to next levels and stuff like that, because I coached with Trey to do the healing. Then I was just blessed. I coached with D so I could get to the next level. So we as women, once we do the work, we okay. But the children, that's still their parents. That's still they still living it. We okay. But they still in it. Sometimes they're young. They don't even know how to process it. They're trying to figure it out. And you don't understand, if you're a side chick, you don't understand the devastation that you're causing. Yeah. You're not even here. And then, but another thing too, I want to say, a lot of times people think the side chicks are winning because sometimes they end up with your ex or whatever, more power to them or whatever, but they ain't winning. They're not winning because they dealing with the same stuff that you done been delivered from. And I could attest to that, because the side chick that was involved in my marriage made a phone call to me.
Oh, they said, "Come get him." What'd she say? Hey,
crying about what is he doing?
Come get this in. Come get him. Let me tell you why.
Nah,
let me.
No, girl. Nope.
What did she say?
She called, had a phone call, and she was like, well, I just want to call you, because at that point, let me back up a little bit. At that point, when we were kind of going back and forth, I just kind of stopped and said, you know what, I'm not going to go back and forth. I'm going to start praying for you. I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to pray for your daughter, because you got a daughter that's in the middle. I would never want your daughter to go through this. So I started praying for her. I started praying for the daughter. When I get a crazy message or a crazy email, I used to say the blood of Jesus is on you or whatever. And I used to say that, and I used to do that. So then I had, when all the divorce was over and I'm good, I made a phone call, because, it's like kids was in the middle. He was with the side chick. And, at that point I'm divorced, and I made a phone call and I said, well, listen here. I said, I ain't mad at nobody. I'm over it. I don't want him. I'm good. I'm in a good place. I just want my kids to be okay. I want my kids, if they come to your house, I want them to be treated fairly. I don't want no crap because there was some confusion and kids was in the middle. I said, I just don't want it. And I had sat down with my kids. I said, listen, your mom is okay. So you can accept her because I'm okay. So they had a conversation with her and they went, and whatever, and let him be. And they went and they started visiting and stuff like that. And then he was already doing the same thing. So then she made a phone call to me because she felt comfortable. And she made a phone call to me and I said, oh, but do you remember? I said, I feel sorry for you because, I don't even think you had a clue. I said, first of all, he didn't even matter. All of this, he did me, he doing it to you. And you getting it worse because, see, I was supposed to be there. I'm supposed to be there, so I'm covered because I did it the way I was supposed to do it, but you now on the other side, and it's worse for you. You getting it worse. And she did, she apologized or whatever, but, she wasn't winning. She definitely ain't winning. She's still not winning, to a point where now, I had to have to the point now I really say a prayer for her. I really do. You know what, God, her daughter, I don't want our daughter to go through that. Her daughter is innocent. I don't even want her to go through it because I'm over it now. So I pray for them. Lord bless them, bless them that they're going, because, even after that, because we had so much friction, and then I had never seen her before, and I'm just going to be transparent and honest, and then when I saw her,
I already know where this is going. I already know where this is going. This is the Fireside Chat. I already know where this is going.
Let me be honest. So then when I saw her, and she goes, kind of get a little crazy, wait, hold on now. I was good, y'all. I was good until you don't step. So then, and this is where accountability gonna come in, and then you won't come up to me. I'm just saying, I'm gonna leave it right there.
Leave it right there. We could fill in the blanks.
You already know what happened. And then, but let me just tell you about accountability, because me and Aisha, we all of us became really good friends. And I made a phone call. I said, girl, you ain't going to believe this. I said, I done punched a woman in her face. And she was like, Danica, now you know better. You weren't supposed, you got to repent. You got to this. And, really and true, that's where accountability comes in. She said, God ain't that. Danica. And I remember even another friend, she was like, no, girl, you can't do that. You're supposed to be better than that. And, it took me a while. And then later, what I did, I prayed about it. And God was just saying, Danica, that wasn't right. I don't really care what happened. Because it wasn't, at that point, it wasn't even about him. It was about, I just said, and to be honest, I said, I've been waiting for this thing. I said that, just in my flesh. And God, I was waiting.
Wow.
I was just waiting for. And then when God started dealing with me, he said, no, daughter. So
I said, she really did punch the lady in the face.
You did, Danica?
Yes, I did. I'm not gonna lie. Listen,
and they called me, right?
I said, girl, you ain't gonna.
Why would you call Aisha before you punch her in her face?
No, I didn't.
She know I would not have let her do that. I would not.
That's how accountability works, Danica. You call the accountability partner before.
After.
After.
This was like a day later. I couldn't call it because I knew what was gonna happen. So, but later, I'm just gonna be honest. So I had to pray about it because I didn't feel good about it, because I could have just, really walked away. And the truth of the matter is, she walked up. She didn't walk up to me really starting anything. She said, she was just talking, and I was just like, I was just wait, I had never seen you before. I ain't never did. And you gonna walk don't walk up on me. You're walking up on me, and my kids here, my sons was there, and I'm like, I just didn't, before I knew it. And then I said, oh no, Lord. So later, maybe about 2 months later,
you a whole-grown, respectable woman. You a whole-grown, respectable woman. A whole-grown. I don't even want to ask you how long ago that was. Just keep talking. Don't tell me no. Just
listen. Okay, don't ask me. Don't ask me. So,
okay, let Trey get it. Let the healing agent get in, because we need her now. Come on, Trey.
I just want to say this. I want the side chicks to understand this, and I'm not condoning Danica's behavior. Emotions,
real.
adrenaline, feelings of fear and disrespect to the side chicks who are listening to me right now will get you punched in the face. And we're not condoning. I'm just saying.
No.
This is the risk that you're taking.
It is risky. It's
because
very risky.
women are angry. Wives are upset. Children are. And you just don't. And this is when we was talking about how does it feel to get cheated on, D. This is when it gets real. We only got 9 minutes left. But when this is when you talk about how it feels. Every emotion in your body is boiling because I asked you to leave my husband alone. When every emotion is boiling in your body because your children are crying at night. And for Aisha, when every emotion is boiling in your body because I can't feed my kids. When every emotion is boiling in your body because you work driving with my husband and you slept with him and you see me at the picnics with my 5 daughters, there's a point where you will lose your mind.
Yes.
And I'm gonna throw it back.
And you know what? D. And let me say this. Another thing is because sometimes they come so bold. And in this instance, she walked up into the house where I was. She walked into the house. She wasn't invited. She walked in boldly. Oh, what's going on? She didn't even know what was going on. Like, she didn't even know. But, later I did. I apologized because, I apologized for me. I said, you know what? Listen, that was out of life. That's not who I am. I'm a child of God. I said, and I apologize. Not that, I apologize for my actions, not for hers, not for hers. But, when you are dealing with all of this and you got so much emotion, you've been so disrespected. This side chick would send me messages with laughing emojis saying how she had my husband and I'm just mad because of blank had my husband. And you just you see all that and you be healed, but then all the things start running back and playing back in your mind. Oh, they did this and they did this, and then you're going to come walk up into a place where you are not your place, your children's home, and walk in. And then, but then you have to learn to be bigger than that. And then you have to repent. And then you have to realize, okay, I got some more work to do. I got more work to do. That's what that said to me. I got more work to do. And I did the work I did. And then I had people that if I called, I knew when I called Aisha, she wasn't going to tell me, girl, you go ahead, do that. I knew I was going to get a whole conversation. I was going to get a whole fussing and a chastising, and the Lord had already chastised. I said, okay, I get it. But I'm being honest. I'm not going to come on here and tell you, oh, it was this, and this, and I've been praying all the time. And, I do pray, and I'm not going to say the whole time. Sometimes I didn't even feel like praying. Sometimes I felt like I wanted to kill somebody. That's true. Good. Thank God I didn't.
Yeah. So thank you, Danica. Thank you so much. I so appreciate the level, the depth of the transparency about, we've talked about, and you all have shared, those of you who were suicidal. I mean, Aisha, what a powerful story. I'm so glad you're here. And Danica, just wanting to kill, like I could feel your energy. But I love, Trey, that you framed it just to say, we're not condoning that, but just understand how a woman feels and how it is that God wired us together with very real emotions, and it's a risky game to play. So I love, Trey, just you framing it in terms of how a woman feels, and it's risky. You just never know. And so I want to, as we are wrapping up, I have 1 or 2 last questions. I want the few of you to chime in who didn't share, because Danica talked about what it looks like behind the scenes for a woman who's being cheated on and trying to save her family or trying to save her relationship. and function. So I'd love to hear Aisha and Stephanie chime in. If you're just watching this, I'm sure the replay will be available at some point, but this is a no side chicking fireside chat. This is hosted by Trey Kearney and her entire enterprise, her platform, Healing Time, No Side Chicking, Healing Time. Oh my goodness, Men Hurt Too. And my name is DC Marshall. I'm just the moderator. And but this is a powerful conversation, and it really is for the woman who is watching right now. Trey Kearney says we remove men from the equation, so it doesn't matter if he's cheating on you, or he's the one that's engaging you, or he's the one that's chasing you, because I'm sure you got some fabulous story that you tell. Well, girl, he calling, but don't. What Trey Kearney would say is that, we remove men from the accountability, and this is about or from the conversation, and this is about women holding each other accountable. If you say no, you're the one that has the power. And so I want to leave the last two questions. So talk about, life behind the scenes, being cheated on, Stephanie, Aisha, and then Trey, talk about, close us out with the power. We know men need major help. They need healing. But this conversation is about women, but you really emphasize the power that we have. So can you all do this in I think we got about 3, 4, 5 minutes?
I could start. What I would say to close it out, the behind the scenes, to address the woman, what you don't see, what I'm going to speak from my situation, what you didn't see was the days that I was in tears and my children were in tears because I literally had no food in my house. What you didn't see was when my child had to come home a year from college because while you're skydiving in Spain with their father, he stopped paying college tuition. What you don't see is the foreclosure notes on the door, because while he's out living his life in abundance with you, everything stopped here. What you don't see is when the other ones got accepted to their dream schools, they can't go because now the resources and the finances are being pulled anywhere, pulled in different directions. What you don't see is you coveted this life, and now you have what you thought was this real life, and now you guys are shaky, but you want it so much, but you don't see the pain and the hurt, the real pain and the hurt, as a mother looking at their children crying because now you have their father's mind someplace else. And I don't have any answers because I don't bash them, but I'm like, you can't be serious. It's Christmas. Why aren't you calling them? It's their 16th birthday. Why aren't you calling them? They're hungry. Where are you? But you're there in his face smiling. So as woman to woman, show woman to woman, how are you okay sitting in the presence of a man saying that you want to be with him, knowing that this man doesn't know if his children ate today or not? That's a serious thing. You're on vacation with a man and his children are facing being homeless because he's taking money, spending it to be with you, and you're okay. If you think that's a prize well won, then congratulations. I wouldn't want to be with a man like that. So integrity, once again, is everything. I'm not going to smile with you on Christmas, but your kids are hungry.
Oh my goodness. Somebody better hashtag and tweet that.
Stephanie?
Well, the thing about it is that my ex-husband is very involved in our children's lives. So we really didn't have that kind of situation. Well, what she doesn't know is that, driving home from the divorce hearing, he was saying, let's work it out. Since we've been separated, since we've been divorced, he talked to me like, can we get back together? Like, that may be what you don't know. And what you don't know is that it's taken all of this time for my girls are pretty good because immediately they got counseling and things like that, and they were in the car with me when It's Healing Time, when Periscope was on the radio. Trey's been at my house. They've been there for the Black Marriage Day. So that my girls have been there. But what you don't know is that, my boys are just now starting to peek out to, get healed. You know what I'm saying? And so I really, I try to share, my life with them as Trey modeled for me. you know, because I didn't know. I mean, because it was very hush hush in our household. Nobody knew anything. Nobody talked about anything. Did nobody say nothing? You know, even till the day that I moved, it was just like nobody said. I mean, they didn't. My kids didn't even know. And so I had to deal with the backlash of the hell that I caused in the family. You know, because as far as they knew, everything was okay. It wasn't like we were like pretending, but we were just trying to hold it together as much as we could, you know. But so I've really like dedicated my life, like this is my life's calling, you know. And I recently found out about this Japanese art form is called kintsugi, and it's also known as golden journey. And what that is it takes the broken pieces of pottery, right? And they mix it with lacquer and gold and create something beautiful out of it. And so that's really what I'm trying to do, trying to repair the things, because, you know, I really stayed together because I used to work at this relationship education program. And one of the studies that I read that said that children do better even in toxic environments. I really got to go find that study and question it now, because I'm now dealing with the toxicity that it caused. And, you know, my kids trying to get healed from the toxicity, and, you know, having to try to teach them, you know, what is a healthy relationship, and trying to encourage them to open their mouths and talk, because that's one thing that we never talked about anything. Everything was a secret, you know. And so that's really what, and as Danica was talking, it's like God dealt with me totally different. He had me to pray for the side chick. And not only that, to come out and say, I'm praying for the side chick. Because that bitterness, that unforgiveness, all of that is about you and what's going on inside of you. You know what I'm saying? And so what I have learned about forgiveness is that the only, like people say self-forgiveness. There's really no kind of concept of that in the Bible, but what it says is that when you forgive, God will forgive you. And so I learned that my forgiveness is only as good as how much I can forgive someone else.
Wow.
And so that's been my journey.
Wow.
I piggyback off of that really quick, because when you said the children and the toxicity, I don't know which one of you said it in the beginning. The children are aware, and Danica knows, like, I'm dealing with the backlash now of you were weak. Why did you let him do this to you? And that hurts, because you think that you're sheltering the children, and then at some point you have to realize that your children were way more aware of things that you thought they were. And then they were upset, like, why did you not see this? I was shocked. Like, I have young adult daughters, and now they're talking to me. They're like, yeah, but that was dumb. How did you not know? And I'm like, you know, and that hurts, because it's like they go through the period of time where they're angry with you for staying in a situation like that for so long, when you were doing it to keep the family together. And that is something that is really, really, really rough, because then it's like that referred anger. They haven't really fully began their healing journey. So now in this season, all up until now, the father was the awful person. Now we're in a season where I'm the awful person. So they toggle. And another thing I would definitely say to everyone going through this journey, your children, and I can't stress it enough, your children are not your friends. Your children are not your sounding boards. Your children are not your confidants. They are not in the marriage. They are a product of the marriage. Do not share the information that is going on with your children, because it's going to come back and knock you on your butt.
Wow. Trey, do you want to, managing for time, do you want to close us in the power, or however you want to square this up, whatever has not been said that needs to be said?
I just want to say that for the women who are listening, we have so much power. We are so smart, so powerful, so amazing. And we have to use our power in the right way. And we talk about sisterhood, and I go to so many empowerment programs and conferences, and the one space where we're not talking, where we need to talk amongst ourselves, is here. I don't get invited on a lot of panels because we don't really want to deal with the heart work. And when the heart is not right, nothing is right, because God deals with our heart. So I want women to understand we are all sisters. God did not design us to be bitter and battle each other over men.
Yeah.
So if you are in a situation where you know you're doing something wrong, there's some things that you need to ask yourself, and you need to get some help. And I'm not judging, because I used to be you, and it was insecurities about myself. It was I didn't know who I was. It was I wanted what I wanted when I wanted. It was I had never seen a healthy relationship. My mother was with my stepfather, and my stepfather was married to somebody else. He lived with us, and he never went back with his wife, but they weren't divorced. So my mother was a side chick, even though he was with us. So these are lessons that we learn. I want you to just ask yourself some questions. First question, why would I want to hurt myself like this? And the second question, how could I hurt another sister like this? Because we talk about sisterhood. So if we don't talk about sisterhood, don't talk about it, let's be about it. So cheating is a form of abuse. This is the last thing I'm going to say. Cheating is a form of abuse. And if you are knowingly sleeping with somebody's husband, boyfriend, or fiance, you're an abuser. And if children are involved, you're a child abuser.
Wow. Well, there you have it. Her name is Trey Kearney, and this is the brand umbrella, or a fireside chat of the brand umbrella. It's healing time. We're talking tonight, and we have discussed tonight, no side chicking. And so I will share this as we go. I'm grateful for all of the powerful women here who are really Trey's trusted circle in this work. She supports and serves and coaches a lot of women around the globe. And so it's just so grateful to have and hear the stories and the fruit of her labor so that it would be helpful. This was intended to be a conversation, a fireside chat, to share truth and transparency, but also to hold women accountable, to hold each other accountable, and to educate in a way that maybe if you're watching, nobody has really had this conversation with you. Like, your friends are not having this conversation. They may be the ones that nudge you to, girl, this, that, and the other. They're not the ones that hold you accountable. So I'm hoping that the conversation was valuable. But I will also share this as we go. Separate and aside from the infidelity, I just want to say, for every woman who's watching, you are a child of the Most High God. You are a daughter of the King and heirs to the throne. I speak to your greatness, and I demand that you step up. You are worth more. You are worth more, and you are not second best. You're only second best if you allow yourself to be second best. And so I pray that you have received, that you have contributed, but you can stop it tonight. We're going to do an altar call in a minute. Look, you have contributed to suicidal thoughts. You have contributed to potential homicide. You are contributing to child abuse. Write this down. Child abuse, emotional abuse, I think she said. Put suicidal thoughts. You have contributed and been a trigger to depression, anxiety. You have been a contributor and trigger to lack. And you have contributed to college dreams being stopped short. There is a long line of things that you have contributed. You have contributed to and blocked where it is that God has gifted women like Stephanie with something specific, but stopped short because there was you with the man. Now, I'm not saying this to make you feel bad, but I'm just saying it and sharing as a moment and a matter of clarity so that it's not real murky, but we have clarity here in this accountability in terms of what it is that we contribute to if we participate and choose to be another woman. And that's what we contribute to. Mental abuse, child abuse, you're a trigger and a cause of suicidal depression. Please don't send me no hate mail. I mean this in love. This is a matter of transparency. I'm framing up what I heard, right? Yeah. And so, but the bottom line is you don't have to stay there, my dear. You are, I speak to your greatness and I demand that you show up. I demand that you step up. And I'm believing in this quarantine time, even today, that you make a definitive decision. Now, Trey didn't ask me to do this, but this is our altar call. You make a definitive decision to stop whatever it is. When he rings the doorbell, you don't answer the door. When he calls you tonight, you don't answer. Decide that you want to be first and you are not second best. And understand he's not going to leave. He's probably not going to leave. And if he does, you're going to get the remnants, okay? You're going to get the crumbs. And then you don't want the crumbs because now he don't have her balancing out. So you're not going to get the good anymore. In fact, sidebar, the only reason you got the good is because he had her over here to manage all of the messiness. But if you don't have her to manage the business of the situation, you're going to get the business of the situation. And as soon as it moves from this is nice and light and fluffy to the business of the situation, you'll be in the same situation, but you don't have to be. So this is not a judgment. It's just a moment of clarity and just it's Friday night, quarantine time. Most of us don't have places to go. And even if we did, this is a great place for us to be, to have real conversation. And so I speak to your potential. I demand that you step up. I believe that God put something in you and you will never be able to receive all that it is that God has for you while you are blocking and while you are sabotaging yourself by entertaining mental abuse, physical abuse, and all of the other abuses that I shared. So listen, if you need help, if you need support, therapy is great. Trey Kearney and her entire brand, she does this work. She is an expert in this work. And so reach out. I think she'll share, if you're watching this on somebody else's watch party, then go and follow Trey Kearney and follow all of the others who also do work in serving women. I purchased a product from Aisha. In fact, I think before we go, they should probably share really quickly where we find and follow you, Stephanie, Aisha, and Danica, because again, what came out of your relationships is something beautiful. The fact that you could produce something and show up and do what it is that was on your heart. So just why don't you share before we go?
You can follow me everything at Trey Kearney. At
okay,
TreyKearney, all things Trey Kearney.
And you can find my website at freed2love.com. That's FREED, 2love.com.
And I am Danica Mason on Facebook. And I also had a group I started called Blossoming Beyond Betrayal.
Love it. Aisha?
Go subscribe to pinkpearlnaturals.com and also join the Masters Pearl group on Facebook.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful night. My name
Can I ask one thing before we go? Because Trey ends all her broadcasts in this way. And I used to, to this day, every time you end the broadcast and you say that, I smile. But I heard it so much till I believed it. So can you say that?
Yes. This is the way I end all my broadcasts. You deserve the best. Yes, I'm talking to you. You deserve the best. Now go get it. Peace and blessings. And remember Psalm 147:3. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147:3. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Peace and blessings. We love you guys. Good night.
Bye.
Thanks, Dee.
Thanks, Dee.
Thank you. No, thanks, guys.
Love y'all.
Thank you.
Bye, ladies.